a transportation system that is safe for all users, and that includes motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists, regardless of their economic status, race, or abilities. I think it's really easy for many of us that drive around to kind of sit in our car and stay in that silo and maybe never get out on a sidewalk and put ourselves in their shoes to what it's like to walk around Springfield on a daily basis. So why is this plan important? As I kind of mentioned, equity. We have a lot of 1 and 0 car households in Springfield, and where they have no choice but to walk or bike. And it always astounds me whenever we have really crummy weather in the winter, how many people you see walking and biking. And it's not because they're getting their steps. It's typically because that's how they get from A to B. Economic vibrancy, placemaking. That's a fancy way of saying where people like to get together. Downtown Springfield is a great place. We've made a lot of improvements over the last decade, or the last several years, creating a place where people like to come. And typically, fast-moving cars are not a part of that equation. It's a place where there's a lot of pedestrians, slow traffic if there's any at all. One of my favorite quotes: "Fast-moving traffic is like water. The faster it moves, the more it erodes." If we have fast-moving cars through our neighborhoods, it's just the kids can't play in the front yard. It's harder to cross the street. Things like that. So efficient traffic flow and walkable, bikeable streets are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. It just takes planning and commitment. I think so often we think if we're making a pedestrian or a bicycle improvement that it's going to be at the that we're going to have to sacrifice some vehicle mobility. And I think we can have a transportation system where both can exist efficiently. So I put this up here. This is a map of our trail system. For a long time, when we think about biking or walking in Springfield, or Clark County for that matter, I think we immediately turn to the trails. And that, while that is true, I would personally like to see us as a community shift our mindset to maybe believe that bicyclists maybe belong on the road, pedestrians are able to cross the street safely, and things like that. So while the trails are there, they're wonderful. Those are the highways. Oftentimes people walk or bike to the trails, and they need to be able to get around the rest of the community safely. This is one of my favorite pictures. I think I showed this back in February, but to me this sticks out. If you could you imagine yourself in a wheelchair or a motorized mobility device, that's at Floral and North Lime right there by St. Teresa's. That was in the winter, obviously, so you have ponding, slush, your shoes are going to get soaked. There's a truck sticking out, so you would almost have to go into the street to get around it. And this is no blame to anybody. This has been like this for a long time, but just trying to raise awareness of some of our infrastructure, and maybe with some of our folks that have to walk around town on a daily basis, or are dealing with on a daily basis. So just kind of contrasting what that looks like to this is on Durr Road up by Kingsgate. A couple of years ago, I think the county engineer did a project and made the bike lane all the way through. And for any of you that drive that corridor, it's not like we have a constant flow of bicyclists, but they do periodically. You'll see a bicyclist or a runner or jogger or walker in the bike lane. Again, vibrancy. So just trying to contrast this picture to building a community that we can have more of this. So I'll get into the meat and potatoes of why I'm here today. So the draft recommendations have been developed. Fortunately for you guys, I can't go through all of them because that would take more than 10 minutes. But I'm going to touch on one in particular, and again, try and highlight the public comment that we're looking for to make this plan. The plan's only as good as the data we get. So the more comments we get, the more feedback we get on our recommendations, the more comfortable I would feel, and I think our stakeholders would feel about coming out with a good product. So we looked at many corridors in the plan. Bechtel Avenue, North Lime, the downtown area, and then East Main. I'm going to take a snippet from the East Main section. This is just the section between Belmont and Burnett. It's a commercial area, also a lot of residences in the area, but a lot of pedestrians in this corridor. Many of you know that. If you've driven the area, you've seen them. And we have the signal at Burnett and the signal at Belmont. Those are two fine places to cross. But obviously, it's kind of difficult to ask somebody, maybe if they're at the Save-A-Lot there, or even a little further east, to walk to one of the intersections to cross. So one example of what some of the recommendations are, you'll see the yellow dots there. 6, 7, and 8, maybe mid-block crosswalks. And that picture there in the bottom right is one example of what it could look like. But having a crosswalk with a center median, and it's not like you would hit a button and turn it red where traffic would stop, but it just would start blinking, similar to what we have on North Plum Street that was just installed over the summer. It's a crosswalk where it's not signalized, but it does provide enhanced awareness for the crossing, and it just would provide a safer crossing rather than there's nothing now, so they just would jaywalk. The other thing it does is when you have a center median like that, it kind of squeezes. It gives the appearance that the lanes are narrower, so it might impact speed a little bit. So maybe cars would go a little slower. I took this from Google Maps, but we all know what the corridor looks like. Can be daunting. There's a lot of access points, so cars turning left, right. Maybe you look to your left, there's no car coming. You start to go out into into the roadway, and a car turned from speedway, you didn't see it, and it's flooring it to get across the 3 lanes of traffic there. So, this is what we have. Maybe in the future we could have something like this. I think we can all agree that that's a more inviting opportunity for a pedestrian. These things aren't cheap. I know that the cost is always an issue, but ODOT in particular has has funds that are dedicated to safety funding. I see projects like this throughout the state of Ohio on a regular basis, turning a corridor that looks like that into implementing some of these safety improvements. And I think if we would commit to it, and really get behind this plan, I think that we could maybe transform some of our corridors. I know there's a Gateways and Corridors Committee, trying to beautify Springfield. I think we'd all agree that looks probably a little more inviting, aesthetically pleasing than what we have now. And again, we have some vehicular benefits, cars going slower, but also obviously the pedestrian enhancements as well for those folks that are walking across the street to do their grocery shopping or wherever they may be doing. So again, this is one example. We studied many corridors. Don't have time to get into all of them, but a lot of similar recommendations. Bechtel Avenue, installing sidewalks. It didn't take a rocket scientist to come up with that. But also some mid-block crosswalks there. You have a couple of signals, but outside of that, it's difficult to cross the street. So there's a link to our public involvement website. I don't expect people to write that down, but if anyone's interested in getting more information on the plan, I think the city of Springfield shared on their Facebook page earlier this week, so I appreciate that. We're just anyone who's interested in it, or any citizen of Springfield that maybe knows somebody who walks or bikes for their transportation, I would encourage them to fill out the survey, view the draft recommendations, give us their input. Received submissions will help us inform the recommendations of the final plan. And I think we'll probably, go for about another 3 or 4 weeks and then start the draft final plan, and, maybe come back and chat with Brian, Chris Moore at the Service Center, Leo, and maybe hopefully come up with some, what do we want to fund, what do we want to pursue, and come up with some funding plans and make it happen. So I think I am under my time limit. So.
Very good.
Yeah, I know that was probably priority number 1.
I've been out there a couple of times with you, walking some of the streets and just kind of some of the concerned corridors. And I just really appreciate the detail and the concern you and your organization has. It is a definite concern. Limestone, real close to my home right there, and many, many, many others. And it's very dangerous to walk down that street. Cars are getting bigger, not smaller, it seems, in Springfield. And so definitely concerns me about students and others. Matter of fact, there's a large truck right there. So that comes down the right side of that road. If
that car's in the outside lane, this mirror might be on some of the sidewalk. Sure.
Yeah. So. Thanks for the detail.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, I'm under no illusion to fix this would be millions and millions of dollars. No doubt. So I'm not saying that we should blow up everything and start tomorrow. But if we commit to it, there's an awful lot of money out there. I'm not saying we're guaranteed to get it, but if we at least try, and then explore, and maybe this is obviously a grand slam. Maybe we try and hit some singles first on some other streets. This is probably the biggest one, probably the most expensive one. You have to move storm, utilities, and all that. But
without a plan, we can't ask for money.
Absolutely,
So,
it's true.
Anything else? How long will the survey be open?
3 or 4 more weeks. There's not a definitive time. When we stop to see the answers trickling in, we'll commit to, I don't know, October 20th, something like that. Mid-October, yep. I should have brought that up, though. Thank you for asking.
Anything else, Commission? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Do we know-
That is our only work session item tonight, Commissioners, and there are no add-ons for tonight's agenda, so our public hearing will begin in approximately 2 minutes.
Mayor, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk will call. Any comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillip?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue? Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And now that Louis mentioned, since we were up in front of St. Teresa, there used to be a traffic signal. There was a crosswalk. That was rather dangerous. Food walk in, carried down, feet, normal. They took it out as the school was active. But just so we know, we did look at some of the safety problems. I don't know. St. Teresa was very helpful. The Reese jumped all over. Beginning, he didn't want it gone, but he realized it needed to happen. Mm-hmm.
We'll have an application here very soon on South Limestone where it's
Mr.
the
Agresta?
exact same.
Agresta.
And
Are you related to a teacher in the
I
district?
was going to talk to you about that. Yeah,
Ah.
she's an IS.
Yes, I absolutely know Heather Agresta. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
we can do
Okay, that last name is so rare.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. She's amazing. Thanks for letting us work with her.
Oh, while we're waiting, I have a proclamation.
Sure, be glad. A special every proclamation special. I want to, but this is special tonight. We're going to honor an individual that served our community so well and affected so many children in a positive and safe way throughout his career. So this proclamation reads, whereas Officer Herman C. Carr, the originator of Springfield's Safety City in 1969, developed the curriculum and personally instructed good safety practices for 20,000 children for nearly 20 years. And whereas Officer Carr was presented the Policeman of the Year award in 1977 for his public relations work in the Springfield City School system and development of and teachings with Safety City, and whereas his years of work with the development of best practices for the school safety patrol culminating each year by marching in the Memorial Day Parade down McCride Avenue, which was duly named Herman Carr Way by the City of Springfield in last October 2021. Whereas Herman the Magician provided entertainment and mystified audiences of all ages for over half a century. Herman donated countless hours to entertaining those less fortunate and underprivileged through the March of Dimes, Salvation Army, American Red Cross, American Heart Association, and the USO. And now, therefore, on behalf of our mayor, Warren Copeland, and the city of Springfield, the president of our commission, we do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Herman Carr Month in Springfield. And we urge our citizens to pay tribute to Herman the Magician, along with with all the magicians who have done so much to entertain mankind throughout all the ages, and recognize this week, the week of October 24, during a National Magic Week, as celebrated in Springfield for many years. I know there's family members that would like to speak to this. We'd invite you to the podium if you'd like to say a few words.
Good evening. Mayor Copeland, Assistant Mayor Rue, thank you, City Commission, for this proclamation. It means the world to the family. About a year ago, when the article hit the paper about the dual naming of McBride Avenue as Herman Carr Way, my sister and I were quoted in there that we said the love of our father's lives were seeing the smiles on the children, everyone that he touched, whether it was magic or whether it was through the police work, Safety City, or in the schools. And we were quoted correctly. And we tried to keep the article from our mother, but she got the paper before we did that day. And when we went into the house, she sat us down and she told us, guys, the article is not right. We didn't even know she saw the article. And we said, what do you mean? She said, I was the love of your father's life. And I said, Marcy said, you are right. You knew him as a police officer and as a magician. We knew him as our father and as the life companion of our mother. So, Mom, I am now publicly making that correction. Forgive me. Thank you.
I'll be brief, but I just wanted to do a quick shout out as well to the Heritage Center, who once again this year will be doing another display in honor of our father throughout the month of October and also through Magic Week, commemorating all of his achievements for the surrounding area of Springfield. And there'll be a lot of celebrations going on over there as well. So this proclamation is going to be hung straight and center over there with his exhibit. And we thank you so much for doing the proclamation.
I really feel for you because I have a bad knee right now. I had a knee replacement and I'm off of that thing, and I'm just about healed, but it's been a long time, seems like. So-
Mayor Copeland, can I please offer to the family? Thank you. I'm Crystal Phillips, of course, and I'm born and raised here in Springfield, and I was a student of Officer Carr's at Safety City, at Kenwood Elementary, as well as Perrin Woods Elementary over the years. So whenever I think about Officer Carr, it's such great memories, and just having a blast as a kindergartner. He did magic shows at Perrin Woods that I saw in the summer, and then Safety City before kindergartner at Kenwood. So definitely appreciate the work that your father did and the legacy that you guys are upholding. Thank you.
My wife's a former teacher, so she's telling them the same thing. And our kids had the same experience. Yeah. Okay, a public hearing scheduled for 6:55 is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop, Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Ms. Phillips,
Present.
Mr. Rue.
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. The purpose of this meeting is for a public hearing to consider a proposed change in zoning. Has proper legal notice been given to the hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 31.27 acres located at 330 Petal Road from RS5 Low Density Single Family Residence District and City EEC POD Eastern Edge Corridor Plan Overlay District to RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District and City OPD8 Planned Development Housing Overlay District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached hereto is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on August 24, 2022.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, and recorded in the minutes and filed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Staff report.
Good evening, everyone. The applicant is requesting to rezone 330 Tuttle Road from a low-intensity residence district to a medium-density residence district. The site also has the Eastern Edge corridor overlay, and proposed layout shows a total of 110 residential lots having width of 40 feet. There are 2 access points as shown in green for the site, one along US 40 and one near Redwood Boulevard. City staff has recommended approval with comments from City Service Center stating that the water main and sanitary sewer need to be under the pavement. The plat requires the sidewalks to be shown as well. City Planning and Zoning Division has recommended City OPDH housing overlay that will provide flexibility in development of the subdivision. Variations in requirements of RS8 district will be permitted. The minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet is permitted under RS8 district requirements. The residential zone proposed RS8 is compatible with surrounding residential zone. The request was denied unanimously by the CEDA board, citing following reasons. Lower density is more suited for the area, traffic concerns to the immediate area, concerns in providing for fire and police services to proposed development, together with Bridgewater project and the Melody Park development. There were concerns from surrounding property owners as well regarding the density of units. City staff is recommending approval of the request. Thank you.
Any questions from commissioners?
So a couple of the concerns that I heard from CETA, well, one of them particularly was the services that are provided to this area. This would be an annexed area, right? City manager?
Yes, this has already been annexed
So
into the
this would
city.
be our responsibility to service fire, EMS, police,
That is correct.
right? And we are looking to build a fire station on the east side of town to accommodate the new growth that we're seeing in the east side of Springfield, right?
That is correct.
I think. I'm sure
Anything
there's
else? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this?
Go to the microphone, please. Logan, do you?
Please use the
We're
microphone at the
gonna make
podium.
sure you have a microphone, either handheld or.
Yeah, we
via
have a
the podium.
handheld as well.
There we go. Also an introduction.
Your name and address for the record,
Yes.
whoever's going to speak.
Okay. We can stand probably.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Molly Gwynn. My address is 2 Miranova Place, Suite 700, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. I am the attorney for the applicant. Just to avoid the feedback,
Yeah,
would it
that's
be
fine.
better?
Just shut
Yeah.
that off.
Yeah, one or the other.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do this one. Thank you. Okay, much better. Thank you again to the commission for having us. As I said, my name is Molly Gwynn. I am the attorney for the applicant. And present with me also this evening is Jack Montino, Division President of D.R. Horton, Dave Dozer, our Vice President of Land Acquisition, Rob Little, our Vice President of Development, as well as Joe Luby, Senior Architect and Planner and Principal with EMH&T. So we are here this evening. We'd like to give a brief presentation and hopefully address some of the concerns that we heard at the CETA board meeting. Just to give you a little bit of background about our team, we are a residential developer in Central Ohio. We do only residential development, and we are formerly Westport Homes. We were acquired by D.R. Horton in 2018. D.R. Horton is presently the largest home builder in this country. They operate in 98 markets and 31 states, and they've closed over 81,000 homes nationally in 2021. So we are very familiar with residential development, and we're very familiar with the Central Ohio market. Our entire team is local to that area. Just a little bit of brief background here, what we know about Central Ohio. Presently, we know that Central Ohio is underbuilt. Permitting activity presently shows about 8,000 building permits pulled per year, and we really need to be averaging about 14,000 to 19,000 homes. We were underbuilt prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are still underbuilt, and the undersupply of housing is obviously creating a price crunch coupled with the rising interest rates that we're seeing. So Central Ohio needs more housing options at all points for all kinds of residents. The other thing we know is that today's buyers are generally looking for a larger living space, less maintenance, and we know that Springfield is poised to grow, and that's why we're here in your community, and we're very happy to be here. Just to orient you to the site, Vade, did a very nice job. We are proposing 110 residential units. And this property is presently subject to a commercial overlay on the underlying residential zoning. Our proposed zoning would lift that commercial overlay and allow for a residential overlay to allow greater flexibility for the project. This is adjacent to a commercial property. Many of you might be familiar with the Walmart across the street. But it is then surrounded by residential uses and residential development on all of the other east, west, and north sides of the property. And again, one thing that we think it's really important to highlight here is that this property already allows for residential uses. We're going from a low density to a medium density. There are a few tweaks that are required for that, and we think that that allows us to deliver a really nice community with some really nice amenities. So again, as I said, the present zoning classification does allow for residential homes out here. And I won't belabor the point, but as per the staff report and recommendation for approval, there was a recommendation that housing is needed in this area. The site does have some existing power lines through it, which makes it a little bit of a challenge. And then again, we are zoned to allow for the residential uses. Again, we are at a relatively manageable density here. We fit the medium density requirement under your code at 3.7 units per acre. We also are delivering almost 30% open space at 29% with 8.8 acres of open space. And at staff's recommendation, we are eliminating that commercial overlay that's present at the property. Again, this is very similar to what's already permitted on the site. And it's comparable with existing inventory in the city of Springfield. And then one other thing that we think is a real value here is we are proposing a small community playground. We will have sidewalks on both sides of the street as well as street trees. All of our retention ponds will have fountains in them. And finally, we are proposing masonry fronts, and we're going to show you some examples and elevations of the homes that we're bringing here. And so I'll turn it over to Rob Little now, again, our DVP of Development, to talk a little bit about those items for you. And we're happy to take questions at the end, and we're also happy to take questions from the audience members.
Good evening, Robert Little, D.R. Horton, 507 Executive Campus Drive, Westerville, Ohio. Thank you for having us this evening. We've been working on this site for quite a while. We do know quite a bit of the history of the site as well, understand some of the challenges it has. Molly did mention power lines. There's pretty large transmission lines that run through the site, which complicate the design, and Joe is an expert on design and could explain it better. But that's one of the reasons we're seeking the change in zoning is the existing zoning is, if it didn't have the power lines, would probably yield the correct number of houses to make the site work. But because of the lines, it really gets cut up. That, and of course, the newer stormwater management codes and regulations, you can tell on our layout, there's a lot of pond area that is taking the site too. So it's nice because, you know, traditional zoning in the past, you wouldn't have a lot of green areas. You'd have a lot of farms that are cut up into equal size lots, no community features, that type of thing. This certainly would be a little bit different where they're green space. So This is a great example of one of the floor plans that we would offer community. As Molly said, we would like to go ahead and include a partial mason front. We feel that that makes the homes look nicer rather than just an all vinyl side home. There's another example of what a two-story could look like there, and as well here. We know, part of the challenge of the site is accessibility. And we know that when the previous developer looking at the site, I believe it was for an Aldi, they had the same issue trying to gain access to the site. We've done a full traffic study, had a third party do a full traffic study. Traffic study suggests there's no improvements needed because the background traffic isn't high enough to warrant it. But we also recognize that we are going to have some people that drive in the existing community to gain access from the part of our plan. Of course, that was certainly before our time. At some point when these streets were designed, it was contemplated that that would be a connection. There's right of way there that connects this property. Part of our plan would be to, first of all, take that from a boulevard, which it is currently, and in the right of way, bring it down to a normal sized road with landscape beside that entry in that right of way to kind of buffer the homeowner's side. So it somewhat beautify that way. But we understand that's part of it. And, unfortunately, with a right in, right out on 40, there are only so many options. So that's what we propose. The site also, when we started on the site, we didn't necessarily know that a lift station would be required. As we got into the site, that became more of a challenge as well, and another reason why we're asking for the zoning change. Part of the site requires a sanitary lift. The lift doesn't have to be very large. However, the minimum standards for Springfield are such that it would be larger than what we would have had to do. So there is that as well. And then, as Molly said, we would be doing sidewalks on both sides of the street throughout the community, street trees, and of course, beautification. In summary, we just want to try to help everyone understand modern communities are not just designed based on lot sizes. We certainly try to utilize a lot of green space benefit for people that live in the community. The plan includes large spaces that would be maintained. And with that, we would take any questions from the audience.
Okay. Other questions from Commission?
I just want to say thank you for putting this together. We appreciate your energy for the community. Hoping to see if we can make this work. I'm excited about the design. I'm excited also about some of the concerns that the previous applicant for the other different development, there's a lot of concern about the roadways. Obviously, you know that. You're looking to address that. The right in, right out is very, I think there's other housing development road. And then also using the redwood for another, that is. So thank you for looking at that hard and addressing that sincere concern of the community.
Any other commissioners have questions or comments? Okay, anyone in the audience want to ask questions?
Comments. Before I get started, I actually also want to add, I am a Safety City graduate as well. Not probably closer to the inaugural class than the last one, but Mr. Carr actually did come to Reed and do a lot of magic shows as well. So I think it was a great proclamation tonight. He was actually a great testament to the city of Springfield. My sister did it as well. Good evening. My name is Scott Nelson, and I'm an owner resident at 160 Tuttle Road. I'm here today as part of a resident group opposed to this application and proposal. We are asking this commission to vote no or to table and reschedule this vote based on the following reasons. I will say again, as I have during these meetings and conversations, that my family and this group of residents are all for and support Springfield and Clark County development. Our position is community development should be thoughtful, intentional, and strategic for the community. We residents and other community members do not see how this proposal is any of those or of community benefit. This is not just a rezone vote tonight. This is a sequenced vote. This project doesn't make sense for Springfield, and there is a better project idea that does bring community benefit, incremental recurring jobs, and services to the local and greater community. This information is germane for this vote. There are many factors to consider with this proposal, but today I will simply touch on a few. Part of this application is the August 4th, 2022 vote from the Cedar Regional Planning Commission, which has been talked about this evening. Taken from a transcript of the October 12th, 21 City Commission meeting, This city commission has publicly recognized the CETA Commission, its representative appointees, and its decisions. 2 applicant items were considered and voted at the August 4th CETA meeting, rezoning and project plan. Both were unanimously voted against and submitted with comment to this commission. Again, just to reiterate, lower density is more suited for the area. Traffic concerns to the immediate area. Concerns in providing for fire, police services to this proposed development, together with Bridgewater project and the Melody Park development. Challenges have already been mentioned in the previous presentation. Current Clark County housing development proposals have more than 1,200 homes proposed in the East Clark County, which does not include these 110, and 1,700 homes proposed in West Clark County. Almost 3,000 homes are planned for Clark County. Prices for Bridgewater homes, also described to me as Roscommon type homes, are advertised as starting at $200,000. Tonight it was talked about over $300,000 for these 110 homes that are proposed. Using the $200,000 as an example, as of today, Bankrate.com shows a mortgage interest rate in this zip code of 45503 as 6.75%. It was 5% in August. According to Experian, approximately $72,000 gross annual income is needed for a $200,000 mortgage, assuming after a 20% down payment and average interest rate. The U.S. Census Bureau reports the median Springfield household income in 2020 dollars is $39,344. There's current listings currently available on the market in the 45503 zip code. About 66 are listed between Zillow and Redfin, and I'm sure there's a crossover there. But who are these buyers that can afford these homes, and where are they going to work, where are they going to shop, and where are they going to use the local services that are up to their levels of standards? I know through my business activities and conversations with local leaders are working hard to bring business and jobs to Springfield and Clark County. However, recent Clark County business changes have been announced. An unknown number of Speedway layoffs are coming due to the 7-Eleven acquisition. Speedway's future in Clark County is unknown. This month, Red Roof Inn is closing a Springfield facility that will affect 106 employees. So what's the vision for Springfield by its government and leaders? What's the plan? To build more and more homes? Is Springfield becoming a bedroom community for Columbus and Dayton? What are the infrastructure requirements for all the new homes? Does the existing infrastructure support 3,000 new homes, let alone 110 in this area? Clark Shawnee, where I went to school, doesn't have significant capacity expansion capabilities after just building a new school, expanded one school, tore down 2 buildings, and sold one. How does this development solve any of Springfield's needs and issues? Are 3,000 Roscommon type homes needed? Has that been analyzed? As I mentioned, there are existing homes around the area currently on the market. Will this be the 4th TIF? Has the benefit been assessed and answered if the community has benefited from the existing TIFs? The applicant publicly stated during the August 4th CETA meeting that it would not be seeking a TIF. Access is my final point. Other local officials have provided comment on challenges with services. We've heard challenges tonight. So I will simply highlight what has been shared, what I've publicly heard, or has been told to me during conversations. Affordable housing is an issue. Education capacity is a current issue. Fire, police, rescue, concerns previously stated by local officials specific to this area, including during the August 4th city meeting, is an issue. Healthcare services, which I know around this area, I've been told, I've spent 20 years of my career working in healthcare. I've been told repeatedly during my business activities in this area that healthcare is an ongoing issue, and with expanded issues likely due to the disruptive forces currently in play in Springfield and Clark County. So I will close to this, and I thank you for your time and patience. There are 402 square miles of land in Clark County. Why is this 33 acres, less than 0.1% of Clark County, of oddly shaped land with poor or no access and numerous publicly stated concerns seemingly being pushed for residential homes when better ideas for community benefit and less disruption exist? We are asking this commission to vote no or table and reschedule this vote until outstanding information can be presented and considered. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott. I have some comments. I've got about a liter of hope left in my tank after your speech, so I'm glad I'm sitting here and you're not, because whoever has the most hope for a community will win. And I don't find that you have much hope for a community after your long speech of drudgery. How many jobs have come to Springfield in the last 5 years? I'll answer for you. 3,500 to 4,000 over the last 5 years. How many are projected in the next 5 years? Well, these people who spend a lot of money developing houses all over this central Ohio will tell you 3 to 4,000 at least jobs are coming to our area with average median incomes far greater than what we've seen in the last 5 years, which is very important. I'm going to finish. I didn't interrupt you. I got him.
I didn't say that.
I got him. So just a minute. I'm just frustrated because I haven't heard, it has been a long time since I've heard that much dogging of a community that has been growing so well for so long. But I understand this is in your backyard and you're very passionate about it. Now, that's one of the things. Secondly, CETA has made their opinion known, and that's great. And there are representatives from Springfield on CETA. But Commissioner Estrop and I have both said CETA has passed their usefulness. And their vote on a complete denial of this project is the example of they've passed their usefulness, in my opinion. Springfield needs homes. They need good quality homes. We're getting good quality homes. Springfield is growing. There was another developer that came for that same property that we did not feel was best use for that property. That's why we're sitting tonight with the right use that we feel is best for that property, which is good housing development, solid housing development. That's what we need to see in our community. We need to see developers who are going to pay attention to the concerns as we grow in the community, traffic and other concerns, housing quality. This is what we need to see in the community. So you're asking us to vote no to a positive and forward-thinking developer who wants to do the right thing for our community, Scott.
Sure, if you refer back to my comments.
Let him finish.
But all I'm saying is, I don't know, you and I are probably not agree tonight, I get that. But there is no way I will ever vote no on this type of thing, personally, because this is a great move for Springfield, and I would be an idiot to vote no. Now, I understand there's concerns. There was, the last time you were up here, you were concerned about parking, you were concerned about people coming in, you were concerned about light pollution that would have come with a box store or an Aldi or something like that. No offense to Aldi. Aldis are great. All I'm saying is you were concerned about that. We agreed. Because I understand if there is light pollution or if there's people that are disrupting the neighborhood behind you, I understand that could be a problem. So we listen to that, okay?
Actually, if I can,
okay.
real quick, my last comment is I can share them with you. I've saved them on my computer. I
don't want to hear it
They
too
mentioned
many more.
safety concerns,
Yeah.
traffic concerns.
Yeah.
They mentioned the curvature there. They mentioned the entrance that are coming in from Garden Acres, where all the children are coming around playing, adding more traffic to that area. We just reiterated safety concerns that members of the Springfield community city council, or not city council, but city services, township services, Clark County services had reiterated to us. That was it.
But
As far as the NIMBY piece, this is not NIMBY. We have people here that are Springfield business owners, Springfield people. We grew up here. There are ideas. I guess that's what our question is. This isn't a NIMBY issue. It's our backyard, but there are better ideas for that area than putting in. I mean, look at the diagram that was up there of all of those pieces. This, whether or not you're saying the CETA opinion
is relevant or not.
is irrelevant or not. I mean, this group selects the people that are there. So I think that's part of it. I mean, this is a group that is selected and placed by by these specific individuals. When they're talking about this is being crammed through, they have one of the members actually lives across the street from the Bridge Park piece and watched the home burn during development and was talking about the services that are good out there. My comments have always been strictly related to the safety that have been brought up to us previously by that. The NIMBY thing is not a part of it. This 110 homes, there is, like I mentioned, the square footage of Clark County. There are other areas just down the street that would be perfect for this. This is a community area. Again,
I think there are other areas just down the street that are going to get developed as well because we need houses. Because part of the frustration.
Wait, we're not going to get into back and forth thing. Let him finish, okay?
I will, but I believe I should get a chance to respond.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, Mayor, because I'm not giving him the benefit, but all I'm saying is, I already said there has been, if you take last 5 years and the next 5 years, nearly 10,000 jobs to our community are coming. Good paying jobs. They don't want to drive 25, 35, 45 minutes away. They want to live in the community where they're working. They want to play here. They want to live here. They want to eat here. So we need to have houses. We need to have good houses.
So
We have people coming to our community saying, we have good houses to build here. We want to build here. Do you follow me, Scott? So we could, if this got denied again, then another plan would come for that area. And I don't think you'd like it either. So in a way, you've kind of worn out your authority on that property because you keep saying the same thing. You just take your speech and set it over a new development. Do you follow me? I think that would happen again if this came again.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
Again, we have a meeting on Thursday afternoon to present another idea with members of the Springfield City government. And I think that idea, that's a potential option for this area. Again, it's community benefit. This is an oddly shaped place that you're trying to put a bunch of homes. I agree with you. We're from this area. I have a business that's not organized here in Springfield. It's someplace else. I absolutely agree with you about trying to bring business and trying to bring things into this community. I'm a product of this community, just like many people in this area. I don't disagree with you at all with that, Mr. Rue. I think we have fundamentally different issues on how to go about that.
Sure. But I ran for office so I can make a difference and make a public difference. That's a difference because I saw the need, okay? And I'm just saying, I'm making my opinion known because this is why I ran, is to make decisions that would better the community. And we don't have to agree with this. And I know I keep going, I'm sorry, this isn't going anywhere. But you just frustrated me with all your hopelessness in the beginning. So you got the best and worst of me tonight, and I'm sorry. But Springfield is growing and good things are happening in this community. And it must be said from these microphones.
And I agree.
And this is why people like this are sitting here wanting to develop in our town.
I agree.
Because it didn't happen for decades. And now it's happening. I'm not saying no to it. I just want to make sure it's right.
Are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to this matter? Is there a motion to adjourn this hearing?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. The meeting is called, the city commission meeting is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrad? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes, please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Our God, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to think about what's best for this community now and in the future. Help us to do it well and to make decisions that are good for the community. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Your motion to approve minutes.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. First reading.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 31.27 acres located at 330 Tuttle Road, Springfield, Ohio, from RS5 Low Density Single Family Residence District and City EEC POD Eastern Edge Quarter Plan Overlay District to RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District and City OPDA Planned Development Housing Overlay District. Accepting the application for annexation of certain territory containing 13.3 acres, more or less, in Springfield Township and commonly known as the Titus Road, South Charleston Pike Annexation Area to the City of Springfield, Ohio. Authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with Reed Park Limited for the lease, operation, and maintenance of Reed Park Golf Course. Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Motorola Solutions Incorporated to reduce the contract in an amount not to exceed $422,953.50 for a total amount not to exceed $507,387.50, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1. consenting to the repair of the bridge deck due to an overheight load accident on structure file number 1203126 within the city of Springfield by the Ohio Department of Transportation, identified as CLA US Route 68 11.47, and further identified by PID number 117656, providing for the maintenance of the right-of-way and authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with the Director of Transportation of the state of Ohio necessary to complete the project. Confirming and approving the acceptance of an Assistance to Firefighters grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in an amount up to $65,676.32 for rapid intervention training, authorizing the local matching expenditure in amount not to exceed $6,567.64, and authorizing the city manager, finance director, law director, and fire chief to perform all acts and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements.
Are there any?
I'd like to, go ahead.
No, you go first. You're doing good.
I just want to know, I think Brian would like to explain 27422, especially this week since we had an incident with some firefighters that we care about, and just odd this comes right up on our agenda. Why don't you tell us about it?
This grant, and I'll actually have Brian just talk a little bit more about it specifically, but this is a grant for rapid intervention training that helps cover our overtime associated with it. We have a matching piece of approximately $6,500, but are receiving from FEMA an amount up to $65,000, again, to cover our overtime expenses associated with this training. Rapid intervention training, I'm going to ask Brian to discuss what that training is and why it's so relevant, especially what we just encountered the other day.
Thank you. To begin with, rapid intervention training is essentially a team of firefighters set aside at a structure fire to rescue other firefighters should there be some difficulty fighting the fire. It was relevant this Sunday. We had a firefighter fall down a set of steps, battling an interior structure fire. They were removing themselves from the second story when he tripped and fell down the stairs. We initially thought everyone was out of the building, quickly realized that wasn't the case, and sent a team of firefighters in to pull him out. I'm happy to report his condition continues to improve. He was up walking today, sitting in a chair, good appetite, and is making solid progress. So to return to what the training is for, we obviously have limitations. We have to maintain a certain number of apparatus and people in service to provide service to the citizens. So that's a training limitation for us. This federal grant will allow us to bring people in on overtime and help offset the cost of providing good quality training for this rapid intervention. If there's another follow-up question, I'm glad to stay here for a second. Is there any concerns?
I don't have a question. I'm just grateful that he's improving.
Me as well.
This is a tough job, one that I would not have the guts to do, and I really respect those who do.
I would add it's been an emotional week for the fire department, and we are super grateful for all the support we've received throughout the city and quite frankly across the state. I heard from the state fire marshal, multiple fire chiefs across the Southwest Ohio area with all kinds of support. Even coming into our community to take runs was off. So super grateful for all the support we've received.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, trip and fall in full fire gear with an oxygen tank on your back with a covered face and smoke coming your face and ain't tripping and falling up the steps. It was very difficult to come down there in a quick manner to seek safety.
Yeah, it's a little extra hazardous for sure with all the extra equipment.
Yeah, and a building on fire, right? Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention the 27222 and give a congratulations to the people who are going to continue to operate Reed Park Golf Course. It is a gem for this community, no question about it, with all the development that's going on out there. And it just shows that a public-private partnership can work if everybody does what they're supposed to do. And I just remember when there was a lot of doubt whether it could not. I just thank Alan Collins for staying the course. I think we've already had it 5 years, 6 years. I think it's 6 years.
Yeah, two
And I mean, and again,
Or
a lot of
32
their
year
own
leases.
money went into this. And again, this is a city-owned golf course. This is a real plum for us. It's really good. So again, thanks to staff for having the confidence in the private partnership to make it work.
There's a couple holes I need to have shortened.
You know, I wasn't even going to say that. 'Cause, you know, I used to claim that I was a golfer. Now I claim that I'm not a very good golfer.
I was never a very good golfer. Just went out and did it for the exercise. Are any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, proceed with second reading.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment incentive agreement with Curlis Family Corporation to incentivize establishing a restaurant located at 1300 Goodwin Avenue to create employment and new investment in the city, and authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to do all things necessary to implement the said employment incentive agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment incentive agreement with Five Poor Boys Foods LLC to incentivize establishing 2 restaurants located at 101 South Fountain Avenue to create employment and new investment in the city, and authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to do all things necessary to implement the said employment incentive agreement.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 1 to the loan agreement with Opportunities and Industrialization Center of Clark County, Ohio, OIC, in connection with the construction of a new single-family home on Rubsum Street to increase the agreement in an amount not to exceed $37,900 for a new total amount not to exceed $220,200 of home funding.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore, and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the establishment of the One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund for the city of Springfield and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Brian or Bill, you want to explain this a little bit?
Yeah, so Commission, you may recall, we joined up with other local jurisdictions as well as the state of Ohio around the One Ohio Opioid Settlement. Specifically, the state of Ohio is going after the companies responsible for the cause of the opioid epidemic that we, as well as the rest of the state of Ohio and the rest of the country, experienced. And so they did just come out with really the guidance and rules around how that money should be spent. And it was recommended, strongly recommended, that you establish a separate fund for this money that as it comes in, which we have received our first payment. So it would be deposited into this fund so that you can properly track that those dollars are being utilized for the purposes actually spelled out through the settlement dollars that would come for this.
Else? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Miller Pipeline LLC for the 2022 miscellaneous sewer lining Phase 1 project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $75,400 for a total amount not to exceed $525,619, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to apply for an urban canopy restoration grant through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Division of Forestry, an amount up to $15,000. Authorizing a local matching expenditure in the amount of $15,000. Authorizing the city manager, director of finance, and law director to perform all acts and execute all documents considered necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant application, and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements, and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Kind of canopy we doing? What are we covering up?
Yeah, I'll ask Chris Moore if he wants to speak to it. I believe this is the second year we've received this grant. And may I also mention our service director's birthday is today, so.
Oh.
Oh, hello, September, baby.
The last part is terribly unimportant. The first part's a great thing to talk about, though. The last year we did get, we were awarded this grant, $20,000 worth of trees. Most of those were planted in the Southgate neighborhood or will be planted in the Southgate neighborhood. And this would be $15,000 for 2023. The plan would be to plant these in the areas of the lane addition that will be getting paved because many trees were lost as part of the preparation for paving. So we'll cross our fingers that this comes through.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving a Shelter Plus Care 1 grant agreement with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development in an amount not to exceed $199,739. Authorizing the city manager and director of finance to perform all acts and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant agreement, and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements, and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the fiscal officer to create a super blanket purchase order as authorized in resolution number 6152, and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? And anybody want to know what a blanket is?
Not this.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Are there other items that come before us from commissioners? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to address us? If so, just go to a microphone. No one? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.